This call is now being recorded.
Good morning to you all. We are on our final day of faculty development program. On this first session, we have our Preethi is the Chief Executive Officer of the TBI of NIT Calicut. Being in an entrepreneurship development field for the past 20 years, she has guided many startups. Having started a career with Entrepreneurship Development Cell of REC Calicut in 2001, she was part of the team prepared and presented the proposal for setting up TBI in NIT Calicut during the year 2003. She has undergone the following training in technology transfer from Texas, USA, training in technology transfer by Praxis Unico, entrepreneurship educator development course at Indian School of Business Hyderabad, training in entrepreneurship development at Entrepreneurship Development Institute Ahmedabad, induction program in management at Indian Institute of Management Kozhikode. Ms. Preethi is a certified trainer of Info, the World Bank Organization in Business Incubation. She served as the manager of TBI NIT Calicut for 15 years before assuming the current role of CEO. The TBI has extended incubation facility to 79 startup companies so far. The support has been extended to units in different sectors like software, IT, electronics, IoT, rubber technology, etc. The units incubated in the TBI generate employment opportunities for around 1,000 people. TBI can claim 70% success if the nourishment of the incubated unit is considered. Many of the incubated companies have attained remarkable growth. We are very fortunate to have you, ma'am, as a resource person for our FDP. We welcome you all to the session. Preethi, ma'am, please.
Thank you, Vishal sir, for that very elaborate introduction. And a very good morning to all the participants and welcome to the session. So I think I'll just go a little bit informal, of course, with the presentation only. So Vishal sir has covered almost all the, the salient points of important points of the TBI and the incubation activities and my journey so far. So nothing so great about it, I mean, from my part, but still, contributing a little bit towards the startup ecosystem and employment generation and technology upgradation is a great thing, and I am so humbled to be a part of it. So thanks for joining the session, and there are around 20 people, joined here right till now. And Vishal sir said that there are around 50 people, 50 participants. That's a great move, actually. So it is, 50 young teachers being, the torch bearers of entrepreneurship and innovation creation in their institutions is a great thing, in fact, which probably I could not even dream when I started my career way back in 2001. That is around 20 years back. So it's a great, very happy to see this, in fact. So once again, this IEDC, force, in fact, the KSUM's, ambassadors of innovation and entrepreneurship in the colleges. So very glad to see you all. And once again, with a very warm welcome and good morning. Let me start my presentation. Yeah, so this is just like, a little bit a thought of, I thought maybe I'll just give you a little bit introduction to the entrepreneurship ecosystem and innovation promotion, the various, activities that we do, how normally we select these entrepreneurs, and how you can nurture them. Since basically this session, the title of the session is given as a guidelines for incubation and nurture of entrepreneurship, nurture of innovation. So I'm just generally trying to cover all these things. And I know today is the last day of your FDP. And I'm sure mostly you must have covered all these points. And I'm sure this is probably going to be a repetition of many of the points. But please bear with me. And if you want me to skip many of the things and many of the points, you can always tell. And I would appreciate your response at any point of time. You can interrupt me any point of time and ask questions, or you can ask me to skip those things also, because I know most of them will be the repetition of the sessions which have already been taken. So yeah, just to start with this, just to tell you about this incubation system and the startup system and all. Normally we call a startup, you know what is a startup, right? I think I don't have to repeat it again. It is normally something which is incorporated in the last 7 years, we call, and legal, with a legal status of or something which is coming under the registrar of companies, ROC. And normally, and because of that, normally we of course registered partnership also is considered, which is again coming under the registration process. And yeah, normally this partnership or the unregistered partnership or proprietorship normally is not considered. See, because this is basically considered to be required when you go for any of the legal actions or legal tasks which you do. Like, it could be acquiring another company, or it could be merging with another company, or it could be taking a new partner or anything like that, because we have seen many problems for not having a registered company. Of course, anybody who is working in the startup system must have had this. That is why probably this definition of startup is given. Okay, we will come to the problems and all those things later on in the session. Okay. And normally we don't call a normal kirana wala a startup, definitely, right? So, or somebody who is dealing or having a dealership a startup. So a startup is again something which is having a patentable technology or near to a patentable technology, a high-tech one. Okay, it need not patentable. I said they need not take the patent, but still, it has to be a high-tech one. Normally, that is where actually all these government is actually trying to promote the technology. Basically, definitely, because all of you know that every country would like to progress on a technological front, right? So that is how we call a country a developed country, when you have all the technology, or rather the normal life of people is basically a very much upgraded related to the technology. We can call that a developed country. So that is one aspect of the developed country. So that is another thing why government is promoting a lot of technology. Definitely, we have another advantage of not having no need to buy the technology from some other country also. So we are promoting the indigenous development of technology. And definitely on a revenue scale also, you don't call somebody a startup, definitely, when they have more than 250 million rupees of revenue when you in any of these years, which is from inception. Okay, so that is just about the definition of the startup. But definitely we call normally anything with a good idea a startup. Now there is no harm, but these are the definitions and all come into force when they go for some benefits or some legal things, like tax tax liabilities or something like that. Okay, so so this is about the startup definition. And normally this incubation is a tool for the startup promotion. Okay, or rather what you do in the IEDCs is again one of the promotion related, or rather promotion and nurturing of the startup ecosystem, right? So incubation is also another thing. So whatever, whether in the form of IEDC, whether in the form of Institute Innovation Cell, Innovation Council, or whatever, Institute Innovation Council, probably you might be knowing it is another arm of the Ministry of HRD, or rather Ministry of Education now, which is having again something like IEDC. They also have set up maybe more than 1,000 Institute Innovation Council in different institutes in India. Okay, so this is not only applicable to the central government institutes, it is applicable to everywhere. I think MES, I think one or two, of course, I'm not sure whether you have, many of you might be having. That is again, they have the ranking system and star rating systems and all, and again a little more rigorous probably, in terms of conducting the programs, conducting the competitions and all. If you have not come and come to know about that, please go to the Institute Innovation Council and Ministry of Education. You can register one. Okay, so there is no funding, to be frank. So it is again based on your own funds that you have to do the programs. Anyway, since you have all these programs anyway, you're conducting, so you can probably report that to the Ministry of Education also after forming an Institute Innovation Council. It could be good for your your activities, basically in two ways. One is the Institute Innovation Council and Ministry of Education is giving you a guideline on what are the kinds of programs you need to conduct. And of course, there will be some programs which is done by them also, which you just need to participate. Okay, that's one thing. And another one is the competitions, that is the business plan or proof of concept competitions that they conduct, which probably in case if your students are lucky enough, or rather they are very good enough, probably they will be able to get through the selection, and they can go get some funding from the Ministry of Education and AICTE for getting the product development done. We have one of our students who got around 3 lakhs rupees for their prototype development last year, year before the last. So that he is doing the product development. So last year also we have submitted some proposals, but the scrutiny is going on due to the pandemic and all. There were some delays and all. Of course, it is a time-bound one, so but it is a good one, in fact, and that is again, your star rating in that could help you in many other applications and proposals in future. That also is another thing. So don't forget, you can search for the Institute Innovation Council of Ministry of Education wherever you don't have this particular thing in your college. Okay. So these are all, what I was just trying to tell you is these are all the kinds of different mechanisms or different arms of the government for the entrepreneurship promotion, innovation promotion among the youth. Okay, because the youth is basically having the fresh ideas, and probably they are supposed to look at the society and identify more and more problems, and I try to figure out the solutions for that, where the business is coming from. Okay, that also we assume, but normally I feel personally that most of the people are either something to do with the drone, either or something to do with the IoT devices. So we just finished the application scrutiny for one of our funding schemes yesterday. So because half of the things is from again this IoT and drones. So maybe my one of my evaluator was telling that even for a small simple problem, the students are trying to make it technologically complex by giving a technologically complex solution. In fact, actually that problem could have solved in a very simple way. So don't try to, it is just my personal opinion. So probably rather than these kind of highly technologically solving the problem, probably we can encourage our students to look at the society, go deeper into the society and try to identify the genuine problems and some simple or rather very effective solutions for that, rather than, of course, you have the technology in hand with you, but rather than playing with the technology, let us try to be truthful and let us try to be more empathetic to the actual problems that we see around. Okay, so that was just about trying to have good innovations from outside. Of course, I am sure when many of you have very good innovations and very good student very relevant problems that many of the students teams have solved from across the engineering institutions of Kerala. Without forgetting that, I'm telling this. Okay. So one of the major setup of promoting and nurturing the innovation is the technology business incubators, or rather business incubators in the higher educational institutions like ours. All these engineering colleges, which is being set up. And there are many ministry organizations which are helping these engineering educations to set up the the business incubation centers. So definitely major areas of activities is like, incubation of startup, for which they do a lot of activities, like first and foremost, or rather the concept wise, the earliest thing that they used to provide is the infrastructure. Okay, definitely they do require the one of the major element is the infrastructure, because they, for many reasons. One, for the students, they may not have a proper place to work when they start with a project. So when you have, as part of the incubation center, or as part of the IEDC, or as part of IIC, whatever mechanism that you have in your institutions for nurturing the innovation side, definitely when you provide an infrastructure, you are actually giving them a good solution, or good place, or something, some good ambience to work with their invention. Okay, so that's one thing. Apart from the simple space of for sitting and doing the work, we are providing them with the laboratory testing and all those other facilities of the institute also, which is also coming as part of the infrastructure. Okay, so that is again, we have a lot of engineer, the laboratories, academic laboratories in our institutions, which is mostly, of course, most of the time being idle. And we had a long break now, which were throughout which it was being idle. So definitely that problem is there. We are being gone through the a very tough situation due to this COVID. And as you know, I mean, for your case also, and for the similarly, our problem also is the same thing, that we are not able to allow our innovators in the campus. That is there. Hopefully, probably this problem will get over soon, and we will be able to come back to our normal vibrancy again in the campus. Okay, so the laboratories and other spaces, like, probably it could be a meeting space, it could be a classroom for their internal training, or even we give them the training or whatever. So all these form a part of the infrastructure requirements for the companies. Okay, in our institute also, many of our student groups, you normally come to the incubation center, use the classroom, and even in the night also they use a classroom for their own discussions, their own presentations among their team members and all. So these are all naturally, I mean, whatever normal things which normally happens in an incubation center. And of course, mentoring is another thing. I'm sure you're all great mentors. Okay, but of course, mentoring doesn't mean that you have all the knowledge. I'm sure I may not be, even with my 20 years experience, I may not be having even half the knowledge that you have. Okay, so I'm sure, because every one of us are having different types of knowledge, our own area of expertise, and which is totally different from others. So because of that, normally what happens is, whenever somebody comes to us, we may not be able to give them the complete solution of whatever they want. Or what we can do over there is basically the networking, which we can give to, connect them to the other people whom we feel will be able to solve their problems. Okay, so that is where we have this kind of a very good network. I'm sure you have a very good IEDC network among you, and you will be utilizing that network very well. Okay, and we are also a part of this IEDC network, and we have seen, even though we were not able to be in a, participate in a very good manner, of course, being in NIT, we all have a little bit of restrictions also, but definitely, we have very good network around us. And we have, because for us also, we have the Indian STEP and Business Incubator Association, ISBA, which is actually connecting all the incubation centers throughout the country. And this is actually for whatever, even for funding, when somebody is not able to get the funding from our side, we refer them to some of the other incubation centers, so that they can go and get or at least apply for funding over there. And even for some mentoring, or for so many things. Okay, for the incubation centers in Kerala, definitely we go to Make a Village for many times, since they have a very good, some of the very advanced machineries over there. Some people which for our people which they want to use those machineries, we normally refer them to many of these places, in fact. And even from IMK also, we get a lot of some technical inquiries, for which we normally try to get the solutions from our side. Okay, so this kind of a networking is something which we can do. Of course, the initial mentoring, definitely we need to have a little bit of, the skills to guide them in which way they need to go. Okay, how they need to go and what all things they have to collect in that path is up to them and up to how we connect them to the outside world. But still, the showing the path only is very much necessary and which is required from our side, being the managers of the incubation centers. Okay, that's one thing. And again, definitely technical assistance. I told you already about the technical help that we can do with our laboratories. Okay, so and again, we all have a very good technical expertise in the form of the teaching and non-teaching staff in our colleges. Okay, so all these people, give we normally get a very good support from our electronics lab and electrical electronics lab and all, because we many of our equipments were able to be tested in the labs, or even some of the suggestions, many of the suggestions were given by some of the teaching and non-teaching staff, in fact even non-teaching staff also. So those kind of involvement from the faculty or non-faculty side is a very very important thing, especially when we have this incubation center in the technical institutions. Okay, what we normally do now is whenever we take incubatee or for the beneficiary for the grant scheme that we have, what we normally do is we try to connect them to a faculty who will have probably a laboratory or probably the equipments or probably even the background knowledge or the domain knowledge that this person, that the incubatee need to have. Okay, so we connect them because for 2 3 reasons. One, we need to ensure that the grant amount is being utilized properly. That's one thing. And the second one is definitely there will be a checkpoint where which with whom we can check, okay, what he is doing is right or wrong. Okay, and moreover, whenever during the evaluations, progress evaluations and all, definitely that person will be able to explain a little more if we are not able to get the enough things from the incubator side. So there are so many good things that we can get from the fact, or rather the technical people side from our institutions. Okay, and we have normally we have a very good base of the new faculty, especially who have come in. They seem to be very enthusiastic, the youngsters very enthusiastic, and we get a lot of support from them. And I'm sure you also, for the first thing that you need to, being the teachers in academic institutions, you need to have is the ground support. Okay, I know it is, for being the representatives of the academic institutions, I can tell very frankly, for being in this area for the past 20 years, it was extremely difficult for us also to get the support properly from the institute, because for any of the educational institutions, maybe till the very last few years, it was totally a different, or rather kind of an area which is not at all welcomed by the academic institutions, is this entrepreneurship development. That is what the situation was. Of course, the Kerala Startup Mission has done a lot of effort in, changing that culture. Okay, so and definitely the central government also followed that that aspect, and then now we have a very good ecosystem. And but it was not at all like this around 15-20 years back when we started with the incubation center. So it was like, it was definitely a tough time, because we had to rather beg for so many things with the institute, so to get the thing, get this incubation center going. But definitely with the now everything is, now this ARIA ranking and all those things, it is actually giving a lot of mileage for the institute as such, when we go for this, when we go ahead with this incubation system and all. Now this incubation industry is a very flourished thing, kind of thing, or rather very, which has made a lot of advancements in our advancements in our country also, just like the other Western and other China or in Korea or whatever. Okay, so it is all about, how we promote this and how far we focus, make our focus into the actual good development of technology and good startup. Okay, so again, we were talking about the different services that that the incubation centers give for the companies, the startups. Again, business development assistance and the connecting the different requirements to the startups. We do a lot about that. Whenever we have some kind of even small requirements which comes from the industry around, or comes from any of our of our program participants or whatever, okay, or even any of the people from the market. We do connect them to the startups, and rather than or maybe may not be a, wherever there is some relation to what the startup is doing, we get them, we try to connect them. Then of course training of the, hello, yes, any doubts, anything to clarify?
No, ma'am, no.
All right. Right. Okay. So of course, another thing is the training of employees and the training of the entrepreneurs themselves. So that's, of course, it is what we normally do with whatever we initial phases, and in the first 10-12 years we used to do very large number of training every year, maybe 10, 12, 15 numbers of training every year, like kind of one training program every month kind of. But nowadays the training programs we have, the number is very less, because basically because now it is being in a very open world, and when most of the things happens in online. Normally we have a lot of technological and non-technological training which is available to the entrepreneurs otherwise. So we don't insist too much on the training programs. We don't concentrate more on the training programs, but the normal entrepreneurship development programs and all is happening anyway. That is basically for the basically not, I mean, we are not having those entrepreneurship development programs not exclusively for the high-tech people, but for the other normal entrepreneurs also, which is normally very beneficial for even for the normal people who want to start some kind of a business, not the so-called technology startups. Okay. So that's one thing. Then again, the little bit of secretarial assistance and all the other things which we do for any of the startups or any of the entrepreneurs, which in the incubation centers or IEDCs can do. Then legal and statutory assistance normally. I'm sure any of the developed IEDC or in a developed incubation center will have a chartered accountant, an advocate, and legal assistance or company secretary and all in their panel. We also do have. For years, we have been having one or two people as our own auditor, our own chartered accountant, not for incubation center only. Okay, I'm talking about these services are being provided to the incubating companies also. Some of them free of cost, advices and free of cost, some small works and all. But when it is coming to the kind of registration, company registration and all, definitely they do charge. Okay, so that kind of it is more than that. It is building a rapport, and moreover they also get to know about these activities like incubation, what is startup and startup registration, and the different task schemes and all those kind of things. Okay, so that is another thing. And then again, these are the major things. Of course, beyond, I mean, or rather before all these things is a pre-incubation support that we provide, or rather many of this IEDs also provide, which is actually the most important thing. In fact, the incubation normally we term it when the entrepreneur decides to form or rather float a company. Okay, so but before plotting the company or before starting the registration processes, it is very important to decide whether they actually should start or not. Okay, my suggestion is don't encourage everybody. Okay, because you have to be very selective. It is always better as saying a no to an innovator, or when if he is not fully ready, okay, rather than dragging him in, okay, and wasting his time, wasting his effort, wasting his resources as well as yours. Okay, that is one thing. So let them get ready for the starting the business, or let them get ready for developing the product, studying all the aspects, and during that study or during that search, if they feel that this is not a good thing or good idea, which may have some problems in the market, let them rethink or let them revise their idea. Okay, so or rather let them go for some other idea. Okay, so just being, of course, I'm an incubation manager. Many of you are so. So just being the incubation manager doesn't mean that I have to support all the ideas coming to me. Okay, wherever you have some, you feel that there is going to be some problem, tell them upfront. Okay, and ask them that this is not going to work, or rather ask them, not that you cannot say that this is not going to work, but the thing is you have to make them understand themselves that this is not going to work. Okay, that's one thing. So normally what we do is whenever the innovator comes, what normally we do is we ask a lot of questions to them, or ask them to do the business plan, and then we discuss based on that. And in case if they have some market study to be done, or in case if they require, if we will ask them to go to the prospective client and talk to them and identify the proper problems, and or even study the competitive things, whatever is there in the market. So after all these things only we select the people. So basically, because of that, the NIT TBI's number is less. I mean, the number of companies is less, but it's fine. It's okay, because whenever we feel, it is judicious to be done, we do. That's all. So, and moreover, we concentrate more on the product-based companies, not the service companies. But the reason being, the product companies require more assistance in the initial years, and they are the ones actually requires actual incubation. Definitely, service companies with higher technology involved might need, or rather where they are a bit confused, or rather the innovators are not so confident, might need help assistance. But normally we concentrate more on the product side, basically because the product companies definitely will take a long time to make their product come to the take it into the market and start getting revenue. Okay, so because of that, we have a lot of constraints over there, and then we give them all the assistances and even funding also. Just between, I would like to just, I am under a presumption that because most of you, the participants, are the coordinators of the IEDCs, and you already have a background knowledge about what I am talking about. I hope I am correct with that, right? That is why I'm not really going to the definition of incubation and all those kind of very basic things.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So if there is any doubt or any clarification to be done, please do ask.
Sure.
Okay, right. Okay. So yeah, then other major activities, definitely what normally we do, and I am sure many of the other developed incubators and all do, is the training of prospective entrepreneurs. See, that is again a marketing for our incubation center. We don't do a very good advertisements or anything like that. Most of the incubation centers, I have not seen the advertisements and all. But what we normally do is going to the entrepreneurs, trying to understand their problems, or either rather having some of the normal entrepreneurship development programs. And we normally used to get one or two good innovators from most of these entrepreneurship development programs that we do, which is this entrepreneurship development program we normally get with do it with the funding from Ministry of Science and Technology. So it is normally a 2 to 4 weeks duration. So which is basically a capsule form of how the business is to be done, how to start the business, and what are the different aspects of the business and all. So even if it is a very non-technical, even if it is not a very technical side of the innovators, but definitely mostly they benefit a lot from this kind of a training program, which is actually comprehensively covering all the aspects of the business. And again, another thing is the business plan preparation and project report preparation and all. These are the other activities that we normally do. Training, technical and non-technical. As I said earlier, we used to do a lot of skill development training for the entrepreneurs and for the industry people also earlier. But now, since we have a lot of good open platforms also on online, which is actually providing these kind of trainings, we normally do not do much of the skill development programs. And another thing is normal the incubators do the consulting activities. See, revenue generation is I would say a big challenge for most of these incubation centers. The incubation centers normally, of course, when you have normally the number of companies are increasing, you require more people, you require more manpower exclusively for this incubation center. Now, of course, in many of the, just to start with, it may be good, or rather it may be enough to start to run it with 1 or 2 faculty coordinators. That will be good enough. But when you actually work for it and try to develop a big center, okay, maybe having 15, 20 companies like what we have right now. We have around 12 plus around 20 companies right now, and another 10 more to join, and in the process of joining. Okay, so that kind of a bigger setup will require more people, and especially when you are handling more funding schemes and those kind of other programs and all, you require more people. So actually, many of the incubation centers or many of this incubators, what the challenge that they face is their sustainability. Okay, so that is something, of course, you cannot depend all the time on government funding. Normally, typically, the government funding for setting up an incubator lasts for 5 years. So beyond 5 years, how to run is the question. Okay, so even now, maybe if you ask us, now it is just sustainable. Okay, fine, because as and when the years goes, we will get some project or something else, and there will be enough money to flowing in for the sustenance of this incubation center. But that is a tough job, because it is a double-sided job. Like you have to get this the incubatees and cater to their needs. At the same time, you have to get the funds for running the incubation center also. So I would say it's a tough job rather than being any other job. You need to only look at one side. Okay, but it is on the other side. You have to look at both the sides. Okay, so it is we have been playing this game for the past 20 years. So it is again depending on the economic situation in the country, and depending on many of the factors. The sustenance of the incubator is definitely you don't know what will happen tomorrow, but still it is an interesting thing. It is really interesting to see many of your the early startup would come to you as a student or as a fresher from the college, grow into a big company, employ so many people. We have one or two companies who are employing more than 100 people. Even one of the company which is employing around 200 people, when having their office in San Francisco, having another office in very big office in Cochin Info Park. So all these good aspects are there, and very happy to see that we have around I think maybe around 10 companies, or rather more than 10 companies, which are having more than 1 crore turnover last year, or rather year before last, probably last year. Many of them are stuck with the COVID issue, but still that is the order of revenue that they are generating. But the again, as Vishal sir was mentioning in the beginning, the number of employees must be more than 1,000 now. So it is a very, very, very heartening to see this kind of a growth, something which is happening around us, where we are the reason for making all this kind of a good aspect. Of course, it is their capability, their product, and their acceptability in the market and all everything. Okay, but at least we were also being a part of that growth is really a glad thing to be. So that's one thing. So about the different activities. Why I was talking about this is the revenue generation for the incubation center, sustainability of the incubation center. It is very important that we go look for other options of revenue generation as well. Okay, so that is we normally do a little bit of consulting work or some other project work and all for many other the other departments or other government agencies and all. So but having a good work only is worth it. So we are also selective about those works as well. So it is always good if you can hello, yes, any doubts? Right. Okay. So it is always good you form a good team, maybe to start with your faculty, similar-minded faculty who are willing to spare their time for this innovation activities, and definitely to plan for a very sustainable incubation process in your institute. Okay. So having all those challenges with the institute, you're balancing your academic work and everything. I know it is a very difficult thing, but still it is always good to look for other avenues of revenue creation as well. Okay, so definitely you can probably many of the incubation centers do their own product development, the collaborative work with many of the agencies and using their own R&D activities. And some they develop some technology, they pass it on to some of the entrepreneurs, and many of the cases the incubation center itself act as a technology transfer office, like what happens in IIT Delhi or NCL Pune and all, where NCL Pune definitely has the incubation center exclusively for transferring their own technology which they have developed. Then there are some of the other innovators as well, but most of the innovators are taking their technology and doing the development over there. And similarly is IIT Delhi's incubator itself is called Foundation for Technology Transfer and Innovation. Foundation for Innovation and Technology Transfer. So that is again, there are some companies, and IIT Bombay is having the sign which is exclusively for their own IIT Bombay people, that is either alumni or the students or the faculty. So all these, there are different kinds of incubation centers which are having their own policy. It is always good to have the policies in place in the initial stage itself. Okay, so what are the kinds of activities that you can do? What are the revenue generation possibilities that you can have, or rather how you need to develop all those things, and which is the target market that you are going to cater to? Okay, it could be either your own people or people from outside. We have decided in the initial years itself that we will be concentrating more on the product development part, technology-based product development part, and we will concentrate. We will not close it only to our in our alumni and students, but it is open to all. Okay, so because of that, maybe of course, being in IT, it is around 80-85% placement every year. We don't get much of the students. Okay, unlike many of you, we don't get much of the students, but definitely that is another game. It is open to all. It is open to general public. So because of that, we have throughout, if you check all these 79 plus incubating companies, we have just around 15 to 20% of that, maybe 20% of that as our own alumni or our own students. Okay, so the rest is people from outside. So there is absolutely no harm about, we did not have any problem related to that. It is all related, it is all depending on our policy, what we require. So I would suggest always have a good policy about how you're going to do this incubation activities. And another thing is how you proceed with this, or how your incubation process is going to be. Okay, for us, we have decided that it is going to be for 3 years. The incubation support that we give is normally for 3 years. There are many reasons. In many of the places, the software companies or IT companies are not given 3 years, okay, outside. But for this, being this Kerala and being in Calicut, we felt it is always better that we give the incubation time of 3 years, even for IT companies. Okay, for non-IT companies, 3 years is a genuine, or rather, the 3 years is a very essential time for their product development and growth. But for IT, may not be. But definitely, this industrially kind of not so active area will require that kind of a support, because then only they'll be able to stabilize and probably go outside for after this incubation time. In exceptional cases, we have extended this 3 years to 4 years also. Okay, on 4.5 years also. Of course, being our first incubatee, they were with us for almost 4.5 years. So all these, it is all a trial and error, and some of the many times some of the incubators might have some genuine problem, which they might require our support. So in such cases, we have done that. So that is there. Then again, after that, we probably give some of them the virtual incubation also. They might need some address with us, or some connection with us for in future. I mean, after the incubation also, where they it is again based on the needs. Okay, it is definitely, but again, there is a general policy framework which we try to follow. And again, once selected, the duration of 6 months, initial duration of 6 months is a provisional incubation. Because as I told earlier, the selection is basically purely based on the business plan they submit, and the business plan is, normally we ask for 3 years. So this business plan, definitely after 6 months, when they are just starting, the initial 6 months is a setting up of the company and probably planning for the activities further. Okay, so after 6 months, if we, of course, the 6 months they can use for their company registration also, but the company registration, we have not made it mandatory so far. Okay, they can do the company registration any time during their incubation period. But many of the other, maybe I think Startup Mission also ask for a company registration or rather ROC registration in the initial phase itself, especially for their funding schemes. But we don't do. Not because of anything. Some of them, we just felt that some of them might require some time for trying out their idea and before they actually go for the legal entity formation. Okay, simply because of that. So again, being the product development company, there is always a, since we select only the product development companies, there is always a chance that maybe once they start and then they realize, okay, this is not going to work, they might drop and go. So once they form the company registration, once they do the company registration and all, when they decide not to go ahead with the project, it is again winding up is very difficult. Okay, so we don't want the incubators to bother about that kind of an aspect. So we let them work. They prove, let them prove that okay, this is good, and they will be able to go ahead with it, and then they do the company registration. But of course, company registration is required if you are going for an equity participation in the companies formed. Okay, and for which again you will have to register your incubation center as a society or as a Section 8 company. Okay, that is non-profit society or non-profit company. Okay, so that is all the legal aspects of that. So again, then in that case, if you feel that okay, some company is good and he requires a lot of help from the incubation center, but he is not able to pay that much in the initial phase, okay, fine, you give me 1 or 2% of your company's stake, and in which we can, the incubation center can give you the services at a very nominal rate, or rather without money also, so that after 5 or 6 years, okay, you can take back your equity and give the entire money back. Or when you go for another funding, for another investment from outside, you give a portion of that, whatever I hold for, and then you go ahead with it. So that is the normal thing which many of the incubation centers do. Like, we're starting from our neighboring IMK Live. Kerala Startup Mission has taken when it was Technopark Incubation Center, and even IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi. There are so many places which do take incubation centers, but there are incubation centers which do not take also, like PSG. It's a big incubation center. They do not take equity. VIT also, they also do not take equity. We don't take equity so far, but we are planning to, but in future, okay? Because there are so many policies and things which we have to finalize and before taking equity and all, because since being the academic institution, we require the board's permission also to take the equity, but which they are slightly skeptical, and so we just kept it like that. So that's one thing. So I was just thinking, I was just telling you about the one different, the thinking about the sustainability, thinking about the policies, thinking about the incubation process. Okay, so how you go ahead with all these things for setting up the incubation center. So that's why when I'm asked to tell about the guidelines of setting up or guidelines on incubators, okay, that's why I thought maybe I'll talk to you about all these things. So that's one thing. And I told you about the technology transfer offices also. And this technology, just to mention, this technology transfer is again in many of the cases is either being done for a lump sum money. That is just what the Indian Institute of Spices Research and all do. ICAR institutions, that is Indian Council for Agricultural Research. ICAR institutions, mostly they do this kind of course, it is a kind of mix of technology transfer and incubation. So what ISR does is mostly they give the technology outside, and in the cases where the entrepreneur requires some support for developing or rather translating the technology into the product, the institute give them hand holding and give them the other supports and all, which is essentially the incubation process. Okay, so I'm just talking about the different models of incubation that is happening, including the technology transfer and not having the technology transfer. Okay, we also have not very actively done the technology transfer, but the technical consulting is there. A little bit of transfer also is there, just one which happened earlier, but again that was a technology developed by a professor, and again the professor, it was an offshoot of the one of his own PhD scholar later on found the company, and then again he is always always has been a technical consultant to that company. So at one technology is transferred from the lab to the industry, the startup. So that way also it can happen. Even you might require you might again require a lot of policies laid down for the technology transfer and the related financial aspects also. It is all a little bit complicated, but definitely there are many institutions and many incubation centers which do that also. So if we can develop a very good framework for all these things, it will be really good for your incubation center. So these are some of the background activities of this incubation, technology transfer and all. Now coming to the selection of ideas. Most of these incubation centers, I'm sure, do follow all these kind of points itself for selecting the incubation, selecting the innovators for incubation. It's like, of course, the technical viability is the major thing. Technical viability definitely means something which could be made out of this innovation, or there will be some technology which is, even yesterday when we were going through the proposals for the grant scheme, we were just having, there will be the people coming with, I'm not talking about the students, there will be people from outside also who are coming with very, of course, theoretically it will be definitely true. But when you talk about, I'll just tell you one example. We got a proposal wherein you can, the energy from the movements of vehicles on the road, which energy from which you can make the energy. It's true, of course, it is. You can probably make the energy, but how much? Okay, whether it is going to be practically viable is a question. So it is technically, you will not get enough of energy to run even, it is not a continuous thing also. So, kind of the scalability issue is there for the technology itself. Okay. So, and there are so many problems, so many this kind of technical issues which you might come across while assessing the proposals or while assessing this innovation. So it is always good to have, of course, being the engineering institutions, you have enough people to cross-check the validate the technology. So that is one thing. The technology validation is something that we do, first thing. And another one is the financial viability. Of course, technology may be good, but again, there will be so many other aspects, like, the competition, okay, or rather already which is having in the, or rather the higher price, which is maybe when you have a very higher technology product, according to that technology's level itself, you will have a price level also very high normally. Okay, so there the functionalities, when the functionalities are more, the customer will have to pay more. So again, it depends on what kind of market they aim at and what is the financial viability that they can have. Definitely for an average customer, definitely they will look for a cost-effective option. Okay, so are you really, is the innovator really giving a cost-effective option? Financially, if it is going to be viable, maybe they are giving a very supreme product, but the problem is, the price that which they're planning to sell may not be enough for them to get enough profit for making the company run. This actually happens everywhere. Okay, they might give it for 5,000 rupees a product, but 4,500 will be their cost. They will not make a long-time sustainability. So this kind of, normally we used to say, at least for many of these kind of the FMCG or rather electronics product, we normally insist that at least 2.5 to 3 times the price should be higher than the cost. Okay, so the financial viability is another thing, but again, the problem there is the market feasibility, that is whether that will be able to be solved in the market. Will the market accept that kind of a product with that kind of a price or not? For which the competition in the market is going to be a major factor for deciding that. Okay, so for that, the SWOT analysis of your idea will have to be done. Okay, so that's one thing. So whenever an innovator comes to you, the study of competitive landscape in the market has to be studied properly. So list down the major competitors and list down your benefit, or rather your unique selling propositions that if whatever you have, or rather the advantage that you have above all those main major competitors, is one thing that any of the innovator must do. Okay, that's one thing, market feasibility, checking the market feasibility. Another major thing is what the incubator can offer. When you don't have anything to play, or it is just one, when I told that we invite people, open public also, to come and incubate their ideas in our incubation center, it is a major thing, because they might come for just a cost effective space, just a brand name of any of your institute or even an IT or whatever. Okay, so these things, they shouldn't be taking us for a ride. So because of that, we also see whether there is some specific things that we can contribute to their product development or their business. Or what we look for is the product really good, or is it really going to have a market, or this business is going to be viable, and at the same time whether that incubatee is having some issues, or rather that innovator is having some problem which he is not able to overcome himself, where he might require our help. It could be many things. Okay, it could be a technical help which we normally look for. Okay, it could be some other problem, like access to the mentors, or access to some of the specific persons or specific institutions or whatever they are testing, and all those things. Okay, so these are some of the major points that we look for while selecting the ideas. And again, before deciding on the entrepreneurs, what we do is a pre-incubation and mentoring, connecting to the technical expert and making them work with the business plan also. Now, other qualities that we look for is a good team, which you also should look for. Okay, it's not that the team should have a passion, because it's not like when they come, when some of the student team, when they come to us, then they just go off. They may not come back to you at all, but you go after them and then take it. Whatever good idea it is, okay, it will not work unless the team itself is having the necessity and passion for it. Okay, so don't force anybody, or don't go after anybody for making the company. They should come to you. If they have the requirement, they will definitely come to you. We have the example of one of our students who from second year onwards were a regular visitor of the incubation center TBI, and he started the work on his product, and in second year, third year and all, he started the work, and finally in the final year he registered his company, and he got a 10 lakhs grant from us for the product development. So the persistence of that person, and even that passion that he was having for that company, for making that, the entrepreneurship process, is something which we were moved by. Okay, so and there are so many people like that. So it's not like the innovator is actually, if he is going to be a good businessman or businesswoman, they will have that passion, and whatever happens, he will not think whether the incubation manager is treating me properly or not, but he will think only what he can get from the incubation center and how he can get that. Okay, so that's one thing. And that leadership quality, bringing the people together and making it a good thing. Okay, making it a good team, and even the communication, how the people explain the things to us, and how he takes the suggestions from our side. Okay, is he actually receptive? Is he really responding properly? Okay, so all these things are to be looked into when you are going to select some team for mentoring. And then complementary skills. One person will be really technical, who normally doesn't talk much. Okay, there will be some other person who is not so technical, but he is able to speak very well and communicate it properly. Or there may be some other person who is always on numbers, calculating. Or okay, so if such kind of a team is what you are getting, it is the best team probably, with the complementary skills. And if it is going to be a one-man army, you would better ask them to have some more partners whom they can go ahead with. Okay, because we have seen so many one-man armies failing miserably, because to take all the pressures of taking a company forward is very difficult with a single person. Okay, at least even if they're not having very good complementary skills and all, even if everybody is having somewhat of similar skills, okay, it is fine. Let us go ahead with it. We had a good company which is having right now around 130, 120 employees, which started with us in 2009-10 kind of at that time, which actually had 6 people to start with. One person was having some different kind of objective, and then he dropped out and then went for his own aspects, of course very amicably only, not with any fight or anything. And the other 5 people, one person was really good in talking, but there were in fact 2 people were really good in talking, but the other 3 will sit quietly and start their do their work technically. Okay, they won't talk. Even now we normally invite our successful incubatees for our sessions and all. So even when we are calling them, these 3 people whom I said is on the technical side, they will not come. They will send the other 2 people to speak, because they know that it is for them it is always better that they do the technical things, okay, not the other things, the publicity, the popular, all those things. It is always better that the other 2 people do. Okay, not that the other 2 people are not good in technical, they are good in technical, but they don't look into the nitty-gritties of the development and the technical. They do have the overall idea, and the other people brief them about what is happening also, but they do more on the marketing side and the publicity and all those interacting leadership skills. Okay, see, and that is one thing. The partners should have the respect for each other and never have the mentality of measuring the other partner's work. If any of your student team members start complaining about the other partner, you ask them to split. It is always better. Don't try to mentor, or rather trying to solve out their problems and again sticking to us. It is not possible. Okay, the partnership, whenever you start evaluating the other partner's contribution, then the partnership is broken. Better not to take it forward or together. Okay, we had a lot of partnership splits happened in the incubation time, and after the incubation time, it is always normally what we try to do is, even if the company is failing, the incubation, which normally in the literature they say that the good part of incubation is one of the objective of the incubation is, of course, one is making a good company, a company profitable and growing, but the other part is allowing them to fail without much of loss. Okay, that is another thing, because when you are in the incubation center, if the company is not, if you feel that it is not successful, or if they are failing, they shouldn't be having much loss. The enterprise should not be having much loss, in the sense when they are not forming their the actual liabilities, assets or liabilities, they don't have enough of, they don't have much of loss, because the incubation center is providing the space, the other aspects, even the funding and all those kind of things, so that the loss to the individual innovator is less. Okay, so what I was telling is, even when you have some partnership failures, it is fine, it's okay. Let them split and then do the business. If they want to go ahead with the mutual consent, let them go with the business. Okay, so that's one thing. And definitely the environmental scanning. We do not encourage the Google search cut and paste industry evaluation reports in the business plan. Okay, don't say that. This industry growth rate and all, it's okay, industry growth rate, let it be there, but it is not going to suit to your business. When you start with something, you tell specifically about what is the segment that you are going to target. If you have talked already to some of your prospective customers, and if they have given their willingness to buy your product, that is what we look for, not the industry average growth rate. Okay, so this is the real environmental scanning that we need to do, not the Google searching and then cut and paste in the business plan. Okay, so this is some other things what we need to do. Again, when you go for funding, it is always good if you can really ensure that some client is there who is really interested in this product. I'm talking about the seed funding, the loan. Okay, maybe the grant, there are many grants which is there for the prototype development, that is a different case. Okay, So yeah, there are some of our some of our companies which are in a very good positions. This is one of the company I was talking about, having more than 100 people now, having around 8,500 square feet in the cyber park, and another company which is again in cyber park, which is into the big travel market. We had so far around 99, I mean 89 companies so far. Another 12 more to join. I mean this new selection, what has just happened. And number of graduated companies, of course, it is more. It is slightly more, around 62, 63 now. And number of current companies is around 20, 22. And again, 10 more to join. Some of them will graduate this year. And number of graduated companies that are not in business should be around. There will be definitely some failures also. The incubation, you cannot see an incubator which is 100% successful, which all the 100% companies are working or functioning very well. There will be some failures also. So we also had some failures. There are due to many reasons. Okay, it should be some partnership split. It should be some miserable product failure, and all those things can happen. So there, like that, around 12 to 14 companies are not functioning now. So that's on the one side. Then we started with IT enabled services in the beginning, then slowly moved to, of course, initial days also we had some of the companies which are into the rubber technology side, because we do have a polymer technology, very good team in the polymer technology side in the incubation center, I mean in the institute. Then even now we have a lot of machinery, agricultural machinery especially, development, which is actually a mix of mostly for the mechanical engineering side, a little bit on the agriculture side also, because agricultural aspect also have to be taken care of there. Then yeah, we have some bio side development which is going on. Then healthcare, yes, we had one or two companies. Right now also we have one company which is with a BIRAC grant, which is working in our incubation center for developing an enclosure for burns. So for which we are having many doctors also in the panel, mentoring panel. So that's again biomedical side. We had a company, IBIS Medical Equipments, which is into the phototherapy units, making phototherapy, LED-based phototherapy also, and other similar products also, which is for neonatal ICU. Then agricultural biotech, there are some other companies also which is happening. So it is right now a mix of technology areas which we are promoting now. Now, main services, as I mentioned in the earlier slides and in the speech as such, it is the infrastructure services of labs, office space, conference and meeting rooms, training rooms, etc., which we do give to them. Then other services like, as I said earlier, legal, accounting, then technical consulting and managerial consulting. We do have good tie-up with many of the industry associations like Malabar Chamber of Commerce, Calicut Management Association, TAI Kerala, which is again in and around in Kerala itself, so that they can personally meet them and talk to them. And we do have good alumni network, which we normally make use of to some extent. Because again, for some industry people also we look into for the hand-holding activities. Then, of course, as I said, business facilitation, that is connecting the business people. Then training is another thing. Funding, mainly one of the main aspects of is what we provide to the incubating companies in the form of grant, loan, as well as investors also, connecting with the investors. Grant, there are two main schemes which is running now. One is the Niti Praya scheme, which is mainly for the prototype development. Up to 10 lakhs, any of the innovator who is selected under the scheme can get for his prototype development, and which is of course not repayable. You don't have to repay. It is a grant. Okay. So in the first year of this, we have selected 12 innovators for being the recipient of this grant. In the second year, we already selected 8 people. Now going for another round of selection, for which the shortlisting we yesterday completed. Then we will be just going for presentation. Another 4 or 5 we will be taking more. So that means again the second year also it will be 12 to 13 people in that batch. Now we will be soon calling for the third batch of the Nidhi Prayas beneficiaries. which the application might be called for the maybe in another 3-4 months the application might be called for. Normally we look at a patentable technology in the product development, and which can, excuse me, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
ma'am. Yes.
All right. Okay, so this is again the grant is normally for a technology product development. It is a grant which is under a scheme of Department of Science and Technology, and the Department of Science and Technology insists that the incubator, the people selected under this thing, should be working all the time for the full time for this product development, and it has to be having a very good commercial value, and it has to result in a business, which in a company registration, and which should be patentable. Okay, so these are the conditions that we look for. So because of that, we can go up to the final year students of engineering or any other graduation, but mostly we avoid the third year, second year kind of people, because first thing is they will not be able to allocate much time for this product development. Final year, yes, maybe when we do the process and all, they might come towards the end of the course, and probably the rest of the time they can look for. Now, normally the time for the product development is 18 months. So because of that, you can imagine, even if it is in the final year student, they will get some time fully, which could be fully dedicated for this. So that's one grant. Then another thing is MSME Incubator Scheme grant. We are an approved incubator of the MSME Ministry for their incubation scheme. We just got earlier also it was we used to run this program, and 11 of our companies got 6.25 lakhs grant each from Ministry of MSME starting from the year 2011. It was up to around 2015-16. We had this 11 companies who got the benefit from Ministry of MSME, and in a revised scheme of the same thing, which the ministry started a year before last, for which also we got one company funded, and there the revised money is around 15 lakhs, maximum 15 lakhs is that you can get as pure grant. Okay, and they have their own method of processing this. When I said earlier about this Nidhi Prayas scheme of grant, it is an advance payment, that is, it normally given in 3 or 4 tranches. First installment will be given first, and in fact, apart from the last installment, all the installments will be given in advance to the innovator. Let them spend, then come with the utilization certificate, and then we give the balance amount. But for the last installment, it is normally a reimbursement mode. Okay, that is, they have to spend it upfront and then bring the bills and audited report, and then we will release the money. So this is what normally that grant scheme is. But apart from that, the MSME grant scheme is slightly different. It is normally given in a reimbursement mode. So ministry will give us the money for whoever the companies are selected. We will keep it. Then the company will do the work and then come up with the bills, and then we will give that much of money back to them for the further work. So this is what normally do. And for this MSME ministry, the selection is like, we have a managing committee at the TBI's level, institute level. This committee will select the beneficiaries invite the application, select the beneficiaries, and or rather not the final beneficiaries. In fact, we have the selection at our point, and then we give it to the ministry for their final selection. Okay, and ministry mostly conduct online presentations by the innovators. One more request that I have to do, present before you is, we are an implementing agency for another scheme of MSME ministry, which is a design clinic scheme, under which they are inviting the proposals for making toys. Okay, you have a lot of toys which is coming from other countries, imported toys, especially from China and all. So Indian government is trying to develop good toys, which with some, of course, it is not mandatory that they have to get along with the Indian culture, but it is always appreciable. So if you have some good idea for toy making, okay, please come to us. We are implementing agency for that. We're trying to collect some good proposals for the toy making and submit to the ministry. Now it is just in the initial stage. So whatever good proposal comes, we can present them, and there is high chance that you will get the money. Okay, so that's my request to you, and we are looking for good candidates under the Prayas scheme also. So if you have some very good ideas, please do refer. We prefer at least the final year students, if it is your students. Okay, if you have some of the pass out students and some people, friends of yours also, please do refer to us. We are looking for very good innovations. And I'm not assuring that they'll be get selected, but they will go through the normal selection process. Normally, we rank and select the best out of them. Okay, so that is about the funding scheme. Of course, we do have loan schemes. We have given out maybe slightly around more than around 3 crores of rupees as loan to around 20-25 companies, ranging from 2 lakhs to 45 lakhs. In fact, this is all running with a 6% interest, a soft loan 6% interest, which is to be given back in 5 to 7 years. So that is another scheme. Then we do connect with the investors also. We do have a good time with the Malabar Angel Network and some other individual investors also, which are getting involved in some of the companies and giving them some funding which they require. So this is about the incubation aspects. I was trying to cover different things like the incubation, basic concept of incubation, what is happening in the incubation side, what are the services normally being provided, and what is the general thing that we, or rather just taking NIT TBI as an example, what are the different services that we do, and a little bit on the statistics of the TBI also. So I think and again, identifying how to identify the, or rather what you need to look into when you are selecting for the innovators for incubation, and a little bit on the sustainability part of the incubator as well. Okay, I hope I've covered good. I mean, I know what with whatever time allotted to me, there are another 10 more minutes to finish. I think we have time. So in case if you have, I'm sure you'll be having many points to discuss. So the floor is open to you. You can ask me any questions. I might be having some more slides and some more topics to talk about, but I think let me stop here and then give the floor to you to speak up. Vishal sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, dear candidates, the session is open to you. And there are some questions. The question one is, do we need separate TBI in addition to IDC in KTU affiliated colleges? I think.
What are the facilities available in your incubation center for robotics product development? Any experience to share with us?
Yes, we had in the last maybe prayer scheme, in fact, one robotics team, which is actually developing a physiotherapy equipment for basically the physiotherapy centers. In fact, we have a full-fledged robotic team. We have a robotic interest group called Club also in our institute. One of the faculty from the mechanical engineering side who is very good in mechatronics, love robotics. So under the guidance of Professor Sudhir, we are actually doing it. We are helping out the company. So they have come up with their final prototype. And of course, there are some more modifications to be done. We have laboratories here, and most of the things is being done in the lab. And another, of course, it is not purely robotics, but a little bit from the robotic side itself, the help is provided to another agri-machinery company also, which is actually an automated arecanut tree climbing and harvesting machine. So that also the help is given from the robotic side. So basically the help is like, we have all the softwares for the designing and the testing and all, and then we have faculty to guide them, guide the students and give enough, the advices and the lab to work with. So this is what we have, and in the just selected group also we have 2 more people who are connected to the robotic side.
Yes, ma'am. And there is another question, ma'am. Do we need a separate TBI in addition to IEDC in KTU affiliated colleges?
That is a question that your management will have to decide on. That is IEDC. I don't know how. I don't think it is a registered entity, right? It is just a part of the college.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but many of the funding schemes that the ministries are working with. That is probably this Ministry of Communication Information Technology TIDE scheme, then the DST's EBI scheme. All these fundings, if you want to get, you will have to have a separate entity, separate registered entity. So there you might be requiring a separate TBI. Other than IDC, or rather you can convert the IDC itself into. For us, I said we have the TBI which is being registered as a society under the 1861 Societies Act, which of course you have all those formalities to be done. That is the annual general body meeting and filing the minutes, by having the audit report, audited statements, balance sheet, profit and loss account, and everything for the TBI also every year, which you have to file with the Society Registrar of Societies. All these, the formalities have to be done once you are a registered entity. That is there. But again, it has its own advantage. Like, when you want to take a share in the, or rather, equity in the incubated company, you have to be a registered entity. I don't think any of the academic institution can take an equity in the companies. Okay, so that's one thing. So having a separate legal entity has its own advantages, but again, it depends on your management whether you have to keep the level of entrepreneurial activities at the IADC level or go to a different platform and do the incubation activities. I hope I answered.
Yes, ma'am. Then another question is how we can generate funds to give grant to startup.
There are many ways. It could be a grant from the government side, which the incubation center or which the IADC or which the institute can get and then give to the beneficiaries, that is the incubatees, selected incubatees. And else you have another, of course, you can, if the management is rich enough, you can have your own funding, okay, or funding scheme. Definitely, when in that case, many of the managements might be interested in, because when you are taking equity in some of the good companies, if you take equity and when they grow, the incubation center can get back the money also. Okay, you've got to be very selective in the funding. That's all in that cases. And another thing is, of course, getting from the government is the major thing. Okay, there you will have all these formalities and all involved. And another one is probably you can go back to your alumni if your college is old enough to get the money from some of the successful entrepreneurs of your alumni itself, and then form a group of people, some good high net worth individuals, and let them form a group, and they are contributing to your. Of course, they also can. It is a kind of angel funding that I'm talking about. Probably they can also get the benefit out of that. Okay, so that kind of activities also could be done. Of course, there are many other ways also, like you can go and connect with some of the angel network and all which is existing in your area, and then you can get the money from them, and then basically it is routing the money through your incubation center. So it may not be a pure grant, it could be kind of a grant plus equity plus kind of those kind of things. Okay, so it depends on what is the funding agency that you are looking for. Fine. Okay, so for which again your policies, your funding agencies policies all are relevant and going to play a role.
Yes, absolutely. Any other question?
Hello, ma'am. Good morning.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, ma'am. I have a question. Will the TBI market the product?
No. Normally, no. Okay. We don't do the marketing for them, but we do help them to market the product. It's like, I told you that we do a little bit of business development help. That is, whenever we hear about some requirement in the market and some requirement around which has some connection with any of our company's products, we do refer the company to them. That is a kind of little bit of marketing. Okay, not a very wide marketing, but another thing is, of course, another major thing that we do for the marketing of them is about their trade shows and exhibitions. Of course, it is the pre-COVID time. Okay, before the COVID time, we used to have a lot of exhibitions and trade shows, which is happening, especially with the government side and of course with some associations and all. What we used to do is we used to set up a stall for TBI, wherein we will be actually giving the product details of our companies. Okay, so it's another kind of marketing. Many of the inquiries used to, companies used to get inquiries out of that. Okay, that's one thing. And another thing is, we conduct some of the programs wherein they will be speaking about their products and all. So we actually provide them a platform to speak about themselves. Okay, so other than that, we don't exclusively do any advertisement or anything for the incubation centers. This itself is a marketing. And most of them are figured in our website also, so which is actually again another kind of marketing for them. Okay, these are the kind of marketing normally normally our incubator does, and it is more or less similar or even slightly more in many other incubation centers also. Some of them conduct sponsored programs by their own incubation centers, which is actually giving a lot of publicity for their incubating companies, and again some road shows and all those kind of things where the incubating companies are also involved, which is going to be a very good marketing opportunity for them. So these are the normal activities, not like any advertisements and all, but we do give some kind of a marketing like this. Did I answer?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes.
Preethi ma'am, one question. Suppose from my college, we have students, those who are interested in this area, and suppose they have to come to your institute. Then I'm having a question like just all of the engineering graduates can be accessible to this institute. Your TBA can be accessible for all the students of Kerala.
Yes, definitely. It is accessible to anybody, in fact. Okay. See, this product development, actually, it is not only the incubation. Actually, we were helping out, or rather, joining hand with many of the agencies. Like, for example, I would say KRISK. Okay, we were actually partner for their Young Innovators program for at least 3-4. Whenever they started the Young Innovators program, we were a partner to them, and even we have done the mentoring program of many of the innovators in the Young Innovators program. Actually, we had a lot of people from other engineering colleges coming to us, taking the mentoring from our side, which is involving the faculty also. So, like that way also. Now, if you want to have any of your good innovators to be incubated in our place, that also is possible. Probably you can have them at your place and have a virtual incubation also. Okay, definitely there will be a selection process, but when we feel that at your place you will be able to give them enough help, which probably they don't have to come in and all, come to NIT and all, it is definitely a positive thing for them to get selected in the in our selection process. Okay, and even otherwise, if you have any queries or anything or rather if you have an incubation center at your place, we can have a co-incubation agreement also for the incubatee to be incubated at your place at the same time in our incubation center also. That also is possible. Okay. By the way, which is your college, sir?
Yeah, I think it's MEA Engineering College, Perindalmana, right?
Oh, sure. I think I used to talk to Jija ma'am there.
From MEA, right?
Yeah, MEA, Jija ma'am is MEA, right?
Yes, MEA Engineering College.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Any other question? No, okay. So we can wind up the session. On behalf of everyone presented here, I would like to express the appreciation for your inspiring presentation on the topic guideline to creation and nurturing of incubation with 20 plus years of experience. We are very glad to have you, man. Thank you for accepting our invitation and have a good session, which is very interesting. I personally appreciate your approach to anticipating users' intents, and on behalf of Mechanical Engineering Fraternity and Faculty Development Program coordinators, I extend my gratitude to you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for the invitation, as well as the participants' kind listening and very good questions also. It was a very interactive group. I really enjoyed that talking to you. So thanks a lot. Hoping to see you again in another platform.
Sure.
Just to inform, we also have one FDP to be conducted.
Yeah.
Maybe I will definitely post it in the IDC group as well. So
Okay.
anybody interested definitely can join. Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
very
ma'am.
much. Thank you once again.
Okay,
for
thank you.